The voice of Husker Nation is on the air. This is Hail Varsity Radio. Insight, opinion, expertise, along with the biggest names talking Nebraska sports. Join in with the show at 402-489-1240 or 1-800-825-5865. Now, here are your hosts, Chris Schmidt and Elijah Herbel.
Great to have you in on a Monday. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager. Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, and you will get the starting five shout-outs. We will recap Nebraska-Colorado. Not super in-depth. We've had a couple of different reaction shows to it. Hope you caught those. And if you didn't, jump on YouTube and do that. But question for you, are you still smiling? Is your voice a little hoarse as you go in or got into work today?
More importantly, are you still hungover?
Yeah, that's a fair question. Or however you celebrated, I hope you enjoyed it. If you got to the Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill in La Vista or Gretna after Nebraska-Colorado, good for you. If you got down to the bar, we probably saw you because I think most of Lincoln, I'll just say a good portion of Nebraska was at the bar at 17th and P. The great folks at Single Barrel, of course, great pregame and fun to be had by all. The whole town was nuts. Rail yard was elbow to elbow. Folks were with family, with friends, with loved ones, with people they've gone to Nebraska games for years with, waiting for this ball game against Colorado Saturday night. The Big Red and Matt Rhule and his squad absolutely delivered. Some warts to get removed clearly as the season moves forward. But it was awesome. And I can't thank all of you enough for coming by the pregame and the postgame. Brian, all the way in from Virginia, the Snitley boys, good to see you. Mr. Johns was in at Hurrdat with us. That was great. I mean, it was just awesome. And all of you who checked in on Real Red Reaction or saw us for the weekend edition at the Single Barrel and then came by and said, "What's up?" It was pretty cool. College kids listening in front of us with earbuds in to the reaction show. It was awesome. 489-1240, 489-1240, 800-825-5865. As Negative Mike, again, a man of his word, changing his name to Positive Mike. I left 10 years of pent-up anger in that stadium. You had 4 quarters of therapy. You had a post-game of feel good. And then you got to do whatever to get up and do it again this week as Northern Iowa comes to town. You had your NFL Sunday schedule loaded. Sorry about your Broncos, but it was close. Mm-hmm. We'll take calls here in a moment, but I'm interested to hear how you celebrated. We have a dear friend that used to wear a big old red N on his helmet, and he tailgated some more. And then he got to the game in the second half. Well, 2 things were true. Saturday night, the line to get into the bar stretched to the Wells Fargo Bank and around the corner to the Casey's convenience store. No matter the amount of bribery attempted, I could not get Elijah in to the bar to cut that line, Big Cat.
It happens.
I have no juice. Forgive me, but I wanted you to have that celebratory beer next time.
No, it's okay because it all worked out in the end, because by the time we were done with our post-game show, 12:30 rolled around, I may have been the only sober person in downtown Lincoln, so I turned into a bit of an Uber driver for the night for my friends, and that's okay.
Apparently it was 45 to 50 minutes to get an Uber Saturday night.
And we don't even need to talk about the cost for an Uber.
What was my late father, Joe Papa, used to be an Uber driver in his retirement, so
the surge pricing was in full effect. I had heard over $50 for your Uber ride.
That's fine.
Easy, I guess, whenever your friend Elijah comes and picks you up for free.
It beats $10,000 in a night in the clink for drinking and driving.
Absolutely the case. Sure. Absolutely the case. But some of my friends got some free rides home. So
right.
You're welcome to my friends. I would also like to take a note here before we get to the phone lines where Jim is hanging on.
All right.
I said on Friday I would eat crow on Monday if my prediction was wrong, and I'd happily do so.
It's been marinating.
This is me happily eating my crow on a Monday, saying, you know what? I was wrong. There's a couple notes I'd like to make. First off, I think I may have hyped up Shedeur Sanders too much last week. I think that dude, from an arm talent point of view, from a physical traits point of view, is fantastic. That guy has a lot to learn about the quarterback position and being a leader. That is the first point I'd like to make, where I was 100% wrong. I said it on Friday, and I'll say it again. I said when Nebraska wins that football game, I'm going to be the idiot who didn't understand that football was won and lost along the lines of scrimmage. I was 100% right there. Nebraska won that game along the lines of scrimmage. Colorado lost it there. I said I was going to be wrong on that point, and I was 100% right. The one thing I will stand by is I said I needed to see Nebraska, when the lights were bright in the big-time moment, go out and perform like we know they can. They did prove that to me on Saturday. I have stowed that away in my memory, and I think that will impact my picks moving forward, but this is me happily eating my crow on a Monday. Now back to business.
No, that's fine. That is fine, Elijah. All good.
Anonymous chimes in and says, I need to start predicting a loss every week.
Yeah, just go the other way. It was a statement game for Nebraska. We want to know how you celebrated. And 2, it was a statement game for Nebraska. What was that statement Nebraska made? What'd they say to you? And we can apply that through different points of the year. We'll get to some emails. We'll get our shout-outs here in a moment. Jim gets us started off, 489-1240, 800-825-5865. Jim, thanks for calling. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for taking my call. I watched the football game. I thought the first half was really good. Nebraska really played good. The second half, I was really disappointed in how they played. They just didn't seem like they wanted to put the effort in the second half. If they would have been that way in the first half, what do you think would have happened? Please.
Hey, Jim, thanks for the question. Thanks for the phone call. Appreciate you listening and chiming in. You would not have won. All right. I mean, you would have lost. It would have been a tense, tight ball game. Maybe you're on the other end. Maybe you're getting blown out. Maybe you're getting dominated. Now, this team's got a lot to learn, clearly. That's okay. They prepared the right way. They went out. They were dominant. They had a pretty sound game plan. They hit some big plays. They eliminated big plays from Colorado. They were physical at the point of attack, and they had the crowd and atmosphere behind them. So it all worked out for Nebraska. They could have added a couple more touchdowns. The 3 and outs in the second half weren't great. The penalties weren't great, whether they were real or imagined. You still got whistled for them. That blew up a scoring drive or two.
Yeah, and great teams don't let poor officiating mistakes like that faze them.
That's fair.
Great teams rise above those circumstances and continue putting points on the board.
Well, Rhule said there's 3 phases of football. That second phase is becoming a good football team. He thinks they're good. Nebraska's ranked. But then can they be a great football team or a championship football team? And they're not there yet. And I think they've got some dudes that can get there, but there's still a lot of season left. I think Colorado is going to crater. They're going from Lincoln to Fort Collins.
Oh, just listen to the post-game comments from your quote-unquote leaders of that football team.
And your head coach.
Well, and I consider a leader. I threw him in there.
Okay. Didn't know. You didn't act like one, or your team's not playing like they have one. But 489-1240, open phones here till 425. Tim Verghese with us from Rivals inside Nebraska. Coach McBride with us. He was back for part of the 30th anniversary celebration, and then Blackshirt Jay Moore.
Yeah, and I'd like to jump in here and give my 2 cents. And again, give us a call, 402-489-1240. Leave us a comment in the stream chat as well, the Hail Varsity YouTube page where you can find that. Let us know what you think. We'll get the starting 5 here in just a second. But I'll be the first off the deep end here in terms of what statement did Nebraska make to me on Saturday night. And to me, it was with the eyes of the college football world on Nebraska, on Lincoln. I know Colorado, I'm with you. I think they're going to have a lot of struggles this season based on the mentality they showed me on Saturday night and based on how poor some of the coaching decisions were in that football game. I don't think that game is like the proof in the pudding, hey, Nebraska's back. But we've spent plenty of time on this show. National shows have talked about the sleeping giant that is Nebraska. And
they're
I think
stirring.
That's what Saturday night showed me. Hey, this sleeping giant is not awake yet. You still got a long way to go there. The sleeping giant, I think what it showed me is this sleeping giant with Matt Rhule at the helm and with Dylan Ryle at quarterback will wake up. The light is starting to stream in through the windows in the morning, and the giant is stirring. The giant is not awake. The giant is not out of bed just yet, but Nebraska has the formula, has the pieces. I think at head coach and at quarterback, the two most important places, and talk about the defense as a whole as well. That
D coordinator.
That defense is going to stay where they are as long as Tony White is there and as long as that culture remains with the defense. And with all that in mind, the sleeping giant's waking up. Not awake yet, but the sleeping giant is in the process of waking up.
No, you needed an opportunity in a moment like that to play in a big stage, big lights ball game, and then just go do your thing, go dominate. Next step is being that thing again in a tight ball game. Let's get our starting 5 shout-outs. We'll get back to the phones. Dylan, welcome in. Dylan first, KG second, Arlo in third. Justin, good to have you in fourth. Mr. Erickson, we got to see each other. Thank you for coming by the Single Barrel. Mr. Erickson, pleasure to have you, bud, and appreciate getting a chance to meet you. NASCAR Eric is in, along with Uncle Larry. Good to be with you, Uncle Larry. Grateful Red is here, is asking, did anyone find Shadur's watch? I haven't found it, but if so, I'm going to the pawn shop. Eric is here. Good to have you, Eric. Jack in. Brent is here. Brent still celebrating. Brian is here. The Buffalo turd went as expected, says Brian. Too bad the refs stopped Nebraska from scoring 40. The other Dave is in. Cliff, down in Panama City, 35 years married. Good for you, Cliff. Congrats on that, bud. We'll get some more comments here. Tuck, back in. Tuck, good to have you. We'll get more of you in a moment. Who's with us first?
Hurdizzle's on the line.
Hurdizzle, good to have you. From the stream to the phones, what's up?
Hey, just got to say it was a great win. I was with Elijah about being nervous about whether or not we'd get the job done in prime time. But just a quick question for you guys. I'll hang up and listen to your answer. But do we see Ty making Ndamukong Suh jump from his third to fourth year? I mean, I feel like from last year to this year, he's stepped up so much.
That's a great question. And if you're a Nebraska fan, Hurdizzle, thanks for the phone call and the question. Suh, you just didn't know, right? I mean, Suh came in as a high 4-star. Ty came in as a 4-star that had gone to Bama or anywhere he wanted as well. And it's been a process. And Ty looks ready to emerge as the man on a really good line of dudes. And he set the tone, him and his mates, for sure. He had help. But for him, second play, third play, sack, deflection, emotion. When they see him balling out like that, that is contagious in a great way. Can he play at that level? You're going to play on fire out of the gate if you're a competitor. You're going to feed off that emotion, off your training, off your ability. He's a beast to deal with. And can he bring that next week? Can he bring that against Illinois? Can he bring that? We'll see. But he has the ability, and he's got some help. I mean, he has other guys you got to worry about, too, on that defensive line if you're an opposing offense. So I think you can see all conference honors for Ty for sure. But from a leadership and impact and big playmaking, that's what you're starting to see more of. Can he be Suh level? Suh might be 101.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. I don't think it's right to compare anyone to Ndamukong Suh. But Ty Robinson, I saw comparisons on Twitter to the D lines of old, and just in terms of the size, explosiveness, and playmaking that he has from the D line spot of those 1990s Husker defensive lines. That's the comparison that I can see as he continues to grow as the year goes on. Is you can see some 1990s Nebraska defensive linemen in him.
You're going to need more than that game, that stage. There's more opportunity. Who's with us?
Dave.
Dave, thanks for calling. Go for it, bud.
I've disliked Notre Dame since Bob Devaney was the coach. That's how long I've disliked Iowa since Hayden Fry was the coach, so it goes way back. And Colorado, I've never cared for them. But I watched those games go down, and it was I've hit the trifecta if Nebraska can pull this off, and they did. And if you have a chance, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch the interview with the Northern Illinois coach. He's a grown man, but he got very emotional and tears streaming down his face. It was just a great talk by him.
That post game was incredible. Dave, thanks for the phone call, bud. And you're talking about a good Saturday. Dave's 3 for 3. Nebraska beats Colorado. The Irish lose, and Iowa loses.
And two great moments.
Two of them on walk-off, gut punches.
Yeah, the post-game message from the coach of Northern Illinois, and I should know his name. It's escaping me at the moment. Apologies for that. But his post-game message was essentially, I told you guys all week long we didn't need luck to come in here and get a win, and look at you guys. We're escaping without luck with a win. Also, the Northern Illinois radio broadcast of that final moment, man, if that doesn't show you what college sports means.
Oh, it's passion.
That was so good.
You know what else it means for the Northern Illinois coach? He ain't going to be at Northern Illinois very long.
I was going to say, job security.
No.
Either an extension or a new job.
Better job, more money. But there's Northern Illinois. Good for them, man. Sorry, Coach Hansen. Tim Verghese, Rivals, Inside Nebraska Recruiting Weekend next.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you at Hail Varsity Victory Monday. The statement Nebraska made is what? You can fill in the blank. Comment on the stream, 489-1240. Coach McBride with us. He's still smiling in about 45 minutes. Tim Verghese joins us from Rivals and Inside Nebraska. Follow Tim on Twitter at Tim Verghese. We'll get some more shout-outs from you in the stream. Mr. Snitley checks in. Nebraska football was fun again on a Saturday night. Ronnie, I predicted evidently here to 11 is what he is spitting out to zip, so he was quite close there. Tim, I didn't get your prediction other than there's going to be a hell of a lot of people there with recruit passes around their neck. Nebraska delivered, and what a visitor list, Tim, for Nebraska Saturday night. What a scene.
Oh, yeah, and, I think the best way to put it is just like is everything Nebraska could have wanted. A decisive victory, one which showed progress on both sides of the ball. I think for the guys on the defensive side of the ball, seeing the development of guys like John Bullock and Mekhi Bear at linebacker, like what those guys just biding their time within the program and year in and year out getting better and better to the point that they played the way they did on Saturday. Again, just for the guys in the secondary, seeing the turnaround of Tommy Hill and who he is now, a guy that's probably going to go top 100 here in the NFL draft in April. The defensive line obviously made an impact on guys in town. And then offensively, just everyone just wanted to see improvement. They got that, competent quarterback play, efficient day through the air, getting a push on the offensive line, being able to run the ball. And then obviously the stadium atmosphere spoke for itself. A lot of recruits that have been all over the country have already stated it's the loudest game they've been at. Guys that have been to Nebraska a couple of times believe it's the loudest Nebraska game they've been at. And they got to celebrate after the game with the team. And a couple guys even came back Sunday morning to spend some time with the coaching staff. So about as good of a weekend as you can ask for. I'm not expecting anything imminent in terms of decisions. This weekend was a lot about just getting back in the mix with some guys and setting yourself up with in a really good spot with some 2026s who are taking their time with the process, but Nebraska is definitely at the top of a lot of minds right now.
Tim, if you had to boil down the recruiting weekend, what was the statement that Nebraska made to the recruits on Saturday night?
Just that they're here. Like this is, I forget who. I think it was Hunter Higgins, a 4-star defensive end from Kansas put it best. Just seeing the pageantry of the traditions, the stadium rocking the way it was, the way Nebraska again just made them quit. For a lot of these guys, this is the closest thing they've seen to what the 90s were. And so for a lot of those guys, like this is what Nebraska football used to be. This is what Nebraska football can get back to. And you guys are the ones that can help get them to that point. That was kind of the message from top down. And it wasn't just like messaging in terms of just telling them that. They got to experience that and see that for themselves.
Tim Verghese with us, recruiting insider, Inside Nebraska Rivals. Justin noticing Tim's haircut.
Look at the rhyming scheme from Justin
that.
here. He's got a future as a rapper. Tim got a trim. He looks prim. He is him.
There we go. I like it. Tim, the hair is glorious. I really like the stylist. Let me get that number. But on a serious note, with the win, Nebraska kind of exercised a demon or two, Tim, on that stage, right? And that was important. The workmanlike detail from the lines of scrimmage, super impressive. And you already detailed, kind of the showcase of guys that have been in the program and what they've been coached up to become. Let's go through some names that made their way to Lincoln, some high-profile names. Dawson Merritt, Cortez Mills found his way to Lincoln. Of course, Cantwell, Mosey, Terry, Kristen Jones. If you had to circle one guy that is pretty high-profile that you're in connection with, what guy do you think did Nebraska make the biggest re-impression on?
I think Michael Terry. I think coming out of this weekend, Nebraska is head on with Texas right now. They jumped. It was kind of trending that way towards the back end of the summer, but we can officially say Nebraska has overtaken Oregon there. It's Texas and Nebraska at the very top. And going into the weekend, I thought Nebraska had ground to make up on Texas just to get back into the mix because Texas was the school to beat coming into the weekend. I think Nebraska and Texas are head and head right now. But this is a recruitment that's now going to go the distance. He's kind of made it known that he's planning to take this to December now. He was originally planning to make a decision at the end of the summer, but now that he wants an opportunity to make some game day visits and he's going to get back to Texas, he's going to get back to Oregon. But at this point, it's just the read I get here, in all honesty, is that he's having a really, really hard time working up to the fact that he's going to have to tell Garrett McGuire and Matt Rhule no. And I just don't think he's able to do that right now. And that could bode well for Nebraska down the stretch just of I've seen schools win recruitments just off of that, where a guy's like, okay, I think I'm going here, but that means I'm going to have to call this coach and tell him I'm not coming. And I'm not able to do that. And right now, just my read on it is he's having a really hard time working up am I going to have to tell Matt Rhule no? Am I really going to have to do that? And right now, I just think that's what's playing in Nebraska's favor right now. Is he's such a big fan of the culture that's being established, of the offense, of Dylan Raiola, and as promising as the opportunity is in Texas, I think there's something in his heart that's pulling him to Lincoln, Nebraska.
What does Texas have in this recruitment that Nebraska doesn't have right now?
Just the fact that the proximity to home and the fact that he grew up rooting for that program, it's kind of been his dream a little bit to play for that team and put on, an hour and a half from home for the Longhorns. That's kind of the edge that Texas has over there. And then the other part of this too, and I think Nebraska did a good job of getting back there, but what gave Texas and Oregon the edge at one point here was he saw both programs as schools that are contending for championships right now. Nebraska was a program that was getting to that mix, but they weren't there in his mind yet. I think this weekend kind of helped him show him a little bit too. It's okay, Nebraska's winning, and Nebraska can get to that point down the line. Maybe not this year, but they can get to that point maybe when I'm at that university if I choose to go to Nebraska.
Tim, another guy that, according to Steve Wiltfong, wanted to see the winning before he was maybe going to reconsider was Dawson Merritt. He found his way to Lincoln, all smiles that you see in the pictures coming off the field on Saturday night. What do you make of the impression that this visit made on Dawson Merritt, a guy that was, I don't want to say close to picking Nebraska, but Nebraska was firmly in that mix before Alabama was the school?
I mean, I'd say he was close to picking Nebraska. I think it was real close. I think it was a 55-45%, going into that day that he committed. It was 55% of Alabama, 45% Nebraska. And so this is just one Nebraska's going to have to keep chipping away. I'm not expecting an imminent flip or anything. This is one that Nebraska just has to keep staying diligent keep maintaining the relationship they have. I'm not the only one that believes. There's a couple of people that in the know on that recruitment believe if no one else is really involved here, if he's going to flip, it's going to be to Nebraska. Otherwise, Alabama's just going to hold on to that commitment. But this is one that down the stretch of this season, come November, come December, signing day, one to just keep an eye on that Nebraska may try and pull away at the last second. But Nebraska's working there. I think this weekend really made a big impression, just being able to see the win, experience that atmosphere. Again, see the development from the linebackers. I think that made a big impression on him. Just like, okay, I'm already this level of player. What will I look like in 2-3 years with Rob Dvorak coaching?
Tim Verghese with us inside Nebraska Rivals at Tim Verghese on Twitter. Parting shot from Rhule at his presser today, and the topic of making Nebraska cool again. And I've got a 17-year-old who, when he was 7, would go to Nebraska games. You get to that a-hole stage of junior high where you don't want to hang out with your parents. Totally get it. But he sure as heck wanted to be in the stands Saturday night. He was. Now, let's zoom out from somebody who can't catch or throw a football in junior. The kids and the aura of Nebraska football, is it making a move, Tim, nationally, not just in the 500-mile radius, about Nebraska, Rhule, and that cool factor?
Yes, absolutely. I think the best thing for them right now has been, again, the across social media documenting that atmosphere. You know, like that fourth quarter, like that transition from the third quarter to the fourth quarter, the drone light show, the stadium walkthrough. I'll say this: that video that came out, I forget who put it out. I think it was in Chasing 3, but a couple other of these accounts that had aggregated it and posted it. But that video of them doing the prayer before the game and then transitioning into Skrilla by Kodak Black, that makes a bigger recruiting impression than you think. Like, that kind of stuff really gets guys fired up about like what it would be like to play at Nebraska, what it would be like to walk through that tunnel and do all of that. That's a bigger recruiting tool that people realize, and it's making an impact. You know, guys across the country are seeing what Dylan's doing. They're seeing what the offense looks like. They're seeing the defense fly around. They're hearing the crowd noise on TV. You're starting to see Nebraska kind of catch the attention now of guys across the country. And, I think Texas is one where you're really starting to make some headway in. Florida's another one. You're really starting to see guys that are, again, for Florida specifically, it's like guys are tuning in to go see their friends, see Ja'Cory Barney, see Vincent Shavers, and those guys, and Willis McGahee, and they're tuning in. And they're like, oh, you know what? If I don't stay home and I don't stay home and play for Miami or Florida State or Florida, Nebraska's a perfectly good option with some Florida flavor on the roster.
Do you think it's a coincidence with the game plan on Saturday night? Ja'Cory Barney being a Miami area guy, you have a Miami area guy in Cortez Mills in town, and Barney's getting featured a ton. Do you think that's a coincidence?
Not necessarily a coincidence. I think it's a testament to who Barney is, and also, they have a relationship. I'll say that much. Like, Cortez and Barney kind of come from the same part of South Florida. They've known each other for a while. They believe there's similar type of players that can affect an offense in similar ways. And I think for both of them, it's just like, hey, before the game, we saw Isaiah Mosey and Cortez Mills hanging out with the receiver room. Barney was over there with them. Garrett McGuire came over to them. A couple other receivers came over. And that relationship, if Nebraska's going to flip Cortez Mills away, it's going to be because of what he saw on Saturday and his relationships with this coaching staff and the players on the team.
Tim, I need 2 minutes. We won't keep you full overtime. I need 2 minutes on the other side. Can we get that?
Yes, of course.
Tim's just like, dude, billable hours. Schmidt and Elijah.
Schmidt, before we get out here, I do want to ask you the question. Tim talked about the importance being cool, Nebraska coming out to Skrilla by Kodak Black. Can you tell me who Kodak Black is?
My kid could. But I heard the music. It's not in my playlist.
Can you name one song that's not Skrilla?
No, I cannot because I'm old and I'm in my mid-40s. Back off.
Just wondering.
Give me the seven. Give me the first 7 songs on Zeppelin 4. I'm just like, huh? What? Huh? And Tim's just like, dude, you are old and crusty. All right, more with Tim Verghese. Some overtime inside Nebraska Rivals. It's Hail Varsity on a Monday.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Some overtime, thank you, Elijah, with Tim Verghese.
Can you name that song?
No, I told you I can't.
Can you name the artist?
Is it the dude you were just talking about?
Kodak Black, there it is.
Sure.
I worked hard on that during the commercial break.
I know you did. You got a clean version, so we're not fired in about 30 minutes.
It's just the instrumental. No flocking is this song.
Okay, good work.
So I think this came out, what was this, Tim, our freshman or sophomore year of high school?
Yeah, 2014, 2015.
Somewhere in there.
Mm-hmm. So you're just blowing our chance to monetize on YouTube right now?
No, we'll be good. We'll be good because that's just the instrumental. That's just the instrumental. That's been changed substantially from the artist's original work. Therefore, fair use.
Tim Verghese, Inside Nebraska Rivals, at Tim Verghese on Twitter. Tim, I wanted to ask you about Christian Jones. Back-to-back weeks for him. What's which way is the wind blowing, I guess is the best way to put it.
Yeah, I think this is going to end. I think we're inching closer to just what feels like the inevitable at this point. I think Nebraska's going to be able to secure him. I think he's going to do his due diligence, get back to Oklahoma one time, and try and shut things down after getting out there and seeing that. But I think these last 2 weekends, I've talked a lot about the linebacker play and the development of that, and for good reason. I think two of the most important recruits in town were linebackers. And for them getting to see what John Bullock and Mekhi Bear did over the weekend, Stephon Thompson behind them, Vincent Shavers and all of that, I think that's made a big impression on Dawson Merritt and Christian Jones. So I feel good about where Nebraska's at right now with Jones. It also helps a little bit that Oklahoma's struggling a little bit to even before they get into SEC play.
Tim, the last big-name guy that was in town that everyone was talking about last week, we haven't gotten to yet, Jackson Cantwell. The wow moment from me was seeing the picture of him next to Taylor Lewan, an NFL offensive tackle, and being like, oh, Jackson Cantwell towers over Taylor Lewan. He is massive. What did he make of the time in Lincoln? He's a guy that everybody in the college football world wants.
Yeah, he the biggest person in the stadium that wasn't Teddy Prohaska. Teddy he spent some time talking with the offensive line, and Teddy was the only one that had like an inch on him. But yeah, Jackson really enjoyed the trip from just my early discussion with him coming out of the game. And it's again, I said this in a couple places at this point, and I do want to reiterate, this isn't like David Sanders where Nebraska's kind of coming in late and trying to make up ground or anything. Nebraska's been a real player here. They continue to be a real player here. And coming out of the weekend, they're really well positioned here right now. But this is going to be a recruitment that's going to go all the way probably till December of his senior year, just because of the type of recruitment this is, the kind of the research he's doing into everything. What's working for Nebraska here for multiple reasons. The proximity to home is big. The relationships are big. He was surrounded with recruiting assistants. Director of Player Personnel Keith Williams spent some one-on-one time with him before the game. Spent some time with Donovan Raiola and Matt Rhule as well. And so it's just those multiple relationships, proximity to home. Nebraska's been able to showcase, hey, we've got guys that play well for this team, and they also go and play track or run track in the offseason, and you'll be able to do the same thing. You'll be able to go throw for our track team while also playing for this football team. And we've got a schedule that will allow you to balance it, that will allow you to be the best person in both of these sports, and will allow you to, succeed at a high level academically as well. And so Nebraska's checking a lot of boxes early on. They just have to keep doing what they're doing there. Just because, again, this is going to be one where LSU is getting involved, and USC and Oregon are involved, Alabama's involved, and it's going to get more and more crazy, as he continues to grow and develop, and this spring for him is going to be critical, just in terms of figuring out who's who and who the real leaders are. But I think Nebraska's right up there with anybody right now.
Tim, last one from me here before we get you out. A name that flies under the radar that was in town this weekend that you think Husker fans should learn, a guy that maybe we weren't spending enough time on last week in your eyes, a guy that is going to be talked about plenty on our recruiting segments over the next weeks and years.
Yeah, I'd say DeZephan Walker, 4-star running back out of Raymore Peculiar down to Missouri. We've got him ranked as a top 70 player in the country, the number 4 running back in the country. He's 6 foot, 200 pounds, a guy that He's been recruited for a while, and he's got a bunch of programs in the mix, but this year he's finally starting to kind of like take this process seriously and start to go out and see some places and start to whittle down his list. And Nebraska's been a program that's he's already been to campus a couple of times. You go watch his film; he's a home run hitter. Kind of reminds you of Dante Dowda, like legit 6 foot, 200 pounds, so thick and big, between the tackles, but once he gets some open green grass, he's gone. And so a guy that Nebraska going to see kind of replacing Dowdell down the line, and a guy that I think is your go-to number 1 running back target in 2026.
Tim, we'll check in again soon. Keep up the great work with Inside Nebraska Rivals, and always appreciate your insight, man.
Yes, sir. Of course. Appreciate y'all.
There he is. Tim Verghese with us here on Hail Varsity. Little overtime Some more shout-outs. Rule of the Day is in. Weston in. Brennan. Make that Brendan is in. Matt says GBR. Coach Brandon is here. Vic from Denver. We love seeing Vic at the Single Barrel. We love seeing Vic at the bar. The bar appreciates you, Vic. And you're a good papa for getting your kid into the stadium, man.
Did he get him into the bar?
Nobody. No. I don't think that was in order. Dion is in. MB Husker 13. Eric is here as well. Steve Peterson, not that one, we hope. Concerned about a letdown against UNI, GBR, question mark. Maybe a little bit, but I think Nebraska will be all right. I think you're under a new sheriff. You're clearly under a new sheriff in Matt Rhule. Brian Bauer is in. Good to have you, Brian. Let's hear from Matt Rhule. Let's sneak in some Rhule comments from today's presser. And first and foremost, hey, Nebraska's back in the top 25. What's Matt Rhule think of that?
It's where we should probably be, but it's not where we want to be, right? So my kids were excited, so happy for them. My players are probably excited. Got bigger plans than that, so.
Longer cut. Can we sneak in cut 3 on the film session?
No.
Next. Well, how about special teams? Cut 4?
Yes.
All right.
The worst special teams performance I've had in a long time. The worst. I'm disappointed. It's a lot of things, right? It's just not any one thing. It's a lot of things. It's we run down the opening kickoff, and we set the tone with some big hits, but we're not leveraging the ball, so the next one comes out. Like, thank goodness John Holtz might be the fastest kicker I've ever seen, because he runs Jimmy out of bounds. We get a punt blocked. That's not supposed to happen. Now we blocked a field goal, which is awesome. We have some goals about that. Buschini was a weapon. Like when the complimentary football was good, like the first drive we stopped them, they punt the ball to IGC. It bounces twice. He picks it up and he gets the ball back to the 50. Like, people aren't talking enough about what Isaiah's doing for us in the punt return game. He dives and catches the one. I don't love the dive, but he catches one at the 30. Then we go down and score in 2 minutes. So he's doing a great job. Kickoff return, the first one should have been a big hit. We don't hit it. The second one, the ball hits the ground. Now, I know Jacory lost it in the lights, and we practice at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I put that on me. Maybe we're not catching up probably on the lights. Like last year, we practiced Wednesday nights, so I'll have to do some more of that this week. And then, we missed a field goal, and the snaps haven't been great on field goals, so I feel like the kickers now are worried about that. So there's a lot of things that aren't real good. We got the right man for the job in Ed. He'll get it fixed. But the guys, I think the guys have to recognize that, we've got to do a better job, and I think they all felt that.
That is Matt Rhule on special teams. Black Hills Brennan, good to see you, my man, in person. Appreciate you. I'm not skipping over you. More from Coach Rhule as we wind down hour 1.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
10 minutes away, Coach McBride with us, a Monday with Charlie, Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, the Blackshirt Hour. Also with Jay Moore. Jim is in, a little bit of a quote from Sean Keeler, blasting Coach Prime for CU's appearance. TMZ2 is in. Moonbot made his way. Redwine 65, good to have you. Brian says, tape the foil on and set the tone. A little slap shot reference. Montana Husker fan on the offensive letdown of the second half. I think the letdown on offense in last week will fire them up for this week against Northern Iowa, hopefully avoiding the lull. I want to tell you about Big Brothers and Big Sisters and how they are incredible at empowering young people through one-on-one mentoring relationships that unlock their full potential. And you can make a difference by becoming a big brother or a big sister or a big couple. And visit mentoromaha.org today. Get signed up. Big Brothers and Big Sisters on a mission to recruit 60 men in 60 days by October 30th. Be a part of it. We're calling on men in the Omaha metro area to step up and become big brothers. Many youths are waiting for that mentor, and some of these kids have been waiting for a year or more for a big brother. More than half of those in our waiting list are boys. So think about helping out. mentoromaha.org, Big Brothers and Big Sisters. They have incredible match support specialists that will match each big and little together. They'll consider numerous factors. They'll create that strong, lasting connection, that bond. And the bigs meet with the littles twice a month, and wonderful activities. Plenty of time spent grabbing ice cream, shooting hoops, going to a game, playing video games, and be a part of it. Be a part of that 60 men in 60 days by October 30th. Big brothers and big sisters, and to help out, mentoromaha.org is what you log on to become part of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Do it today and make a difference. Elijah, you mentioned Ja'Cory Barney. We were talking with Tim Verghese last segment, and Nebraska has Dowdell that looks tremendous at running back, an extra gear, breaking forearms. You've got just a dude at quarterback. You've got Banks and Nayor that are problems with the matchup. You saw Borkacher get in, and that was an awesome throw. I know it was third in West Center for Nebraska to get the first down, but what a throw by Raiola to find Borkacher. Saw a nice seam route by Fedoni, who played dinged up a little bit. But let's get to Barney. I mean, that guy on ends arounds, on pop passes are pretty impressive.
He loves to play, but he's 160 pounds. He gets that first jet sweep. They light him up on the sideline. He gets up and does this thing, right? And it's not look at me. It's just joy, right? I love watching Ja'Cory play. I mean, you can't get the ball enough to him, in my mind. And so, this week I told the team, we're facing the number 21 team in FCS in the country. They're one of the top run defenses in the country. Guys are going to compete for touches. I'm not a schematic person. I know a lot of football scheme. I've coached for some great coaches. But I'm you get the ball to the guys who can make plays. And then the guys have to go make plays. And so Ja'Cory makes plays. So it should have been a touchdown on the reverse if a couple guys would have sprinted a little harder. If you have a chance, go back and watch that reverse we ran and watch what Dylan does. He hands the ball off and blocks a blitzing corner. I've never seen that before. So good players make plays. Dylan makes plays. Ja'Cory makes plays. And I don't know if we can get the ball to Ja'Cory enough.
Well, he is a difference maker. Coach McBride next hour with Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.
This is Christian Peter. I'm sorry, but the stories I have about Charlie are not appropriate for the public.
The right case of the Mondays. It's Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, on Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you, it's Hour 2. It's Hail Varsity. We're powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel. It's that time. Mr. Blackshirt himself, Charlie McBride, part of that championship celebration. We'll get connected with Coach here in just a second. Man, it was pretty awesome to see that 94 squad out of the tunnel, how it was synced up on the Jumbotron, on the big screen. The folks running out of the tunnel versus the footage of them running out of the tunnel. And that was pretty good. So we'll reconnect here with Coach. He made it down, which was just awesome. See him and Coach Darlington and Coach Osborne, Jared Tomich, that 94 team. Charles emails in. Chris, huge fan of the Hail Varsity Radio Show. Charles, we're a huge fan of you, bud. I live in Colorado, but have been a Husker all my life. Your podcast is what gets me through all the disgusting prime hype around here. Do you think that Nebraska's D stopped all the idiotic Shedeur Heisman talk? I sure hope so. Chuck, we'll see. It's going to get a little steeper for Colorado as they've got showdowns against K-State this year in the Big 12. They'll be messing with Utah. Utah looks pretty fierce. KU, I know they dropped one on the road to KU dropped one on the road to Kansas and Illinois. Let me spit that out. But Illinois looks better. They might be something to mess with here a week from Friday for that glorious BTN Friday night ball game. But no, I think Shedeur is going to have to run for his life a lot this season. We welcome in Coach McBride with us here on Hail Varsity. Charlie, thanks for taking a few minutes. It's great to connect with you. And How about Saturday night, man? How you feeling?
I went to bed about 9:30. It was I got tired during the day, but sure. It was a great weekend. I mean, we had a lot of my old friends, and we got together afterwards for about an hour or two, and so that was about it. And then I stayed with the Hamiltons, Riley, Jane, and Ken, and stayed at their house and enjoyed their fellowship. And of course, saw all the kids that, of course, men now. I mean, not kids. and saw an awful lot of them. I mean, more came than I thought would come, and it was really good. It wasn't long. It was Tom talked, and they had the captains talk, and that was pretty much it. So it was a good affair.
Coach, how about the game Saturday? Nebraska put it to Colorado 28-10. It could have been worse. I know you love yourself some defense, and man, did that defense play well.
Yeah, they played good. The only thing that didn't bother me was, again, in the second half, they kind of didn't score. I mean, they didn't do the things that, you'd probably want them to do, but and that worries me a little bit because second half has been a kind of a bad deal for us a little bit with Colorado, and so I thought I got worried a little bit in that, because I completed a couple of balls, but they got straightened out and everything, and it worked out pretty good. I think too many penalties was one thing. And I think they're going to have to get third down straightened out. They got some work there, but that's natural. I mean, that's part of the deal. That's why you have those early games, and so you can get ready for the conference, and hopefully that they have some guys that can they have enough guys with experience that they'll be able to work something out.
It's Charlie McBride with us here on Hail Varsity Radio. He was in town, Nebraska-Colorado, that 94 team being honored. And Charlie, there's one moment I specifically want to get your thoughts on. If you were Nebraska's defensive coordinator on Saturday and you saw Colorado lining up in shotgun at their own 1 yard line and dropping back to pass, what would your reaction be as a defensive coordinator?
Blitz them. That make them pay the price for lining up like that. We had that happen to us before, and they got safety. But if you're talking about that end of the field, but either way, you put pressure on them. Now, Colorado needs to have pressure put on them because their quarterback is so active, and you need to make a hit on them and make them throw it, or you got to make them run like heck, and hopefully you can get it. Because when you have an athlete like that, running the ball is probably their number one thing, and throwing it is probably the second.
Coach, I'm so sorry I interrupted you. Finish your thought.
Well, coming out of the pocket would be the other thing. Does he come out of the pocket so that would, if he does, and they know that, then the outside backers or the outside people are really important.
You look at what Nebraska's defense did, Coach. 6 sacks, 10 tackles for loss. 20,
that's good.
28 pressures, 20 by the defensive line, lots and lots of hurries. And what do you think that means moving forward for Nebraska's defense? It was going to be a strength this year, but can they be at a difference-making level the rest of the year?
Well, one of the things they can do now is they can work some change-up stuff with people. They can, people are going to see how their pattern was. Mm-hmm. And you can change that pattern because you have enough good rushers. you have enough good guys and to really cause some problems. So I think that my feeling is that I had two plans. I had A and B, and ahead and behind. I paid a lot of attention to that when they're ahead and they're behind what they run. Mm-hmm. But the thing is that they have a plan for the first half and a plan for the second half. Because they'll go in and they'll change. They'll adjust to what you did in the first half, and then so if you change it, that's a waste of time. And so I think we have enough of those kids that can all rush, and so all of them are effective. And of course, sometimes you want them to take up two people, and that's a lot of people don't understand. If they take up two people, that shortens the single blocking on most of the other ones, guys. So I'd have to look at it to see, but it's really important, depending on the quarterback, where he's going to be. Is he a guy that comes on the outside? Does he sprint out? Does he come out of the pocket? Does he stay in the pocket? And so all of those things make a big difference. I don't know anything about Northern Iowa's quarterback, so I can't tell you anything about that. I haven't seen him play, but I hear he's pretty active.
Charlie, overall with this Nebraska defense, I said it on our post-game show. I said something of the sort again earlier in our show here today. Is this a defense that's beginning to remind you of those 1990s Nebraska defenses that you coached? I just see it with the sure tackling in the back end, the way the defensive line plays fast, physical, and violent. There's just some comparisons I think can be made. I'm not saying that the defense is playing like your defense is exactly, but I think you can make some comparisons. Do you see that?
Well, I think that one thing is everybody is active, and there are no guys loafing, even if they're away from the ball. They're really they're conscious of what's going on around them. Some kids that are young, they kind of look in the backfield and somebody runs by them, and they get in some real trouble on throwbacks and things like that. But I think that they have the potential and the making of really a good bunch of kids, and I think their outside rushers are starting to open up a little bit, and they're really becoming active. And I like to see that. That's one thing I think. When you get pressure from the outside, that shortens your sprint outs and your play action passes, and also if you're in the drop back, you're putting the heat on them from the outside, and so it kind of works for both ways. But those guys are really important, so you try to set up some stunts and some things that will work to give them a chance to be different. In other words, rush from the outside or be able to come underneath with somebody else containing. So if the quarterback's that fast, if he's that good. If he's not, then pray that he doesn't get outside of you and just go ahead and take your chances.
Charlie McBride's with us, a Monday with Charlie. It's Hail Varsity Radio. Coach, we'll get you out on this and check in with you next week. Was it even sweeter to be there in person with a win over Colorado?
Yeah. Yeah, man, I was with the boss, so it was kind of it was really nice. So I mean, Tom and I had a good talk, and we were able to talk in between plays. We didn't talk much when they had the ball or were on defense, but in between plays and things, we had a chance to spend some time and look at the kids. And Tom even said, he said, he doesn't say much, about how good. He doesn't use the word great. He used the word good. Mm-hmm. And he said they look very good, and that means that we would use the word great maybe, but good is good. For this time of year, good is what he wants.
I like it. Well, Coach, it was great to see you and see you with your fellow coaches and teammates and of course players, and we'll get caught up again next week and talk a little Northern Iowa. But it was wonderful to have you back in town.
Okay, that's good. Well, thank you very much, and I'll see you next week with a win.
That sounds good, Coach. You take care. Appreciate you.
Okay. Bye now.
There he is, Mr. Blackshirt, Charlie McBride, a Monday with Charlie at Hail Varsity. You caught part of that. Want to catch it all? Check out the podcast, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. And we'll get to Jay Moore here at 5:25, part of the Blackshirt Hour. Do we have time to squeeze in? We'll get some more sound from Matt Rhule. We'll take a couple calls here if you want to jump in. And it is cool to hear from Coach, his thoughts on the pass rush, what Nebraska was able to do, and do pretty effectively. Who's with us?
Paul in Lincoln.
Paul in Lincoln. Paul, how we doing?
Not too bad. I believe I made a slight prediction last Friday that they are a 4-8 team until they prove otherwise. And maybe we need to take it with a grain of salt that, yes, we looked pretty damn awesome against a 4-8 team.
No, they played who was on their schedule, Paul, and they held they held that offense below 300 yards. So that's my grain of salt. But I am not.
It's all good.
I'm not crowning them, but it's better than the alternative on a Monday afternoon with games like this at past seasons.
We absolutely have to take the win as a win. We have to be very encouraged by the signs that we saw of truly good possibilities on this team, but it's still just possibilities, guys. We've got to see what we do against the Ohio States, the USCs.
Oh, yeah, maybe even Illinois.
I'll worry about USC and Ohio State during USC.
Elijah's worried about the Viper Room. That's what he's worried about.
I'm worried about the Panthers.
Are you really? They're 200.
Am I worried? No.
6'4", 240, they're running back?
My thing is am I worried? No, but has Nebraska earned the right to look past any opponents just yet? Hell no,
absolutely
they have
not. Paul, appreciate you. We'll squeeze in one more call, 489-1240. Big thanks to Coach McBride. What I was saying, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play is where you can go for the Hail Varsity Radio podcast page. Check that out, download, like and subscribe, give us a rating. Also, Hail Varsity YouTube can watch the show. Follow on Twitter at HVarsity Radio. Who's with us?
We go to Pete for about 30 seconds.
All right,
here.
Pete, we got you in. Pete, go for it.
Hey, I was real impressed with the linebackers. Bullock and Bayer. They're turning out to be one heck of a players.
Yeah.
The other thing, special team definitely needs some work. In the second half on offense, don't get too worried about it. They were going to run the ball, run the clock. They knew they had enough points, and so they weren't opening up to the pass because they wanted to run the clock. So I wouldn't get too worried. The refs were terrible on some of those calls.
Yes, they were.
So I wouldn't get too worried on the offense. We had enough points. We put it on them in the first half. We just totally out-physicaled Colorado, and so I'm pretty happy.
Pete, I love it. Appreciate you listening and giving us a shout. Pete, good to get his take. And, yeah, you're happy, and you can still work on some things. Think about when the offense plays two halves of football. Throwing the football, running the football, and the defense stays pissed off. Pretty nice. Jay Moore, Blackshirt Husker NFLer, part of the Blackshirt Hour, continues at Hail Varsity, and we're powered by Cornhead Lager.
All-State, 2-year starter, and rush in for the Big Red and NFL vet.
Is Dudeness or Duder or, El Duderino if you're not into the whole brevity thing.
It's Blackshirt Jay Moore with Hail Varsity Radio.
Back with you at Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager, Chris Schmidt, Elijah Herbel, Blackshirt Husker, NFLer Jay Moore with us, and you can see him on Big Red Wrap-Up. Going to be a happy set Tuesday night as the Big Red handle the Buffs 28-10, and it wasn't that close at Jay Moore 44 on Twitter. Jay Bird, quick reaction. Is it what you thought was going to happen? How good does it feel as a former player?
It feels awesome. I was just joking with you guys before we started recording that. I'm finally getting my voice back. and I only went in for the second half. I did not go in for the first half. I went in for the second half.
So you're the reason.
Yeah, I blame it on me. Blame the poor second half performance. That's fine. You definitely blame it on myself. But I tell you what, I've been a part of teams that have won in Boulder, especially in 05. That's obviously one of my most memorable wins as a former player. But that first half was about as good as the first half that I've experienced as a fan in a long, long time. And it's right up there with all the wins I've had against Colorado as a player. 3 of them in my time at Nebraska. So obviously could not go off to a much better start, and just to kind of put our foot in the gas and not really look back for the most of the game. And it was what we needed, right? It's what the doctor ordered. It's been a long time coming. I feel like things are looking things are finally heading in the right direction. Atmosphere was electric. Tailgate scene was crazy. I mean, finally for once, Nebraska, shows up in that big time, prime time showcase game. And like I said, it's been a long time coming. And man, that was a top 5 Saturday in my opinion.
It's Jay Moore with us here, Hail Varsity Radio, Nebraska, Colorado, thoughts, reaction. And Jay, with the stage that Nebraska had, like the eyes of the college football world on Nebraska on Saturday night, especially considering how that Tennessee-NC State game went, like the eyes of the college football world were on Nebraska. It was a statement win. What is the statement that you think Nebraska sent out to the rest of the college football world with that performance on Saturday?
That this defense is legit. I don't think the defense has gotten a ton of respect. I think people around here know how good this defense is, but a lot of the national people, whether it's guys who, are contributing for people in Vegas or just ESPN, and ESPN's always been a little heavy on Dion, and I get it. I mean, I see why people pay attention to it, and I understand it from a little bit, but I don't think people just thought that, you got a top 10 quarterback, NFL draft pick quarterback, you got some good wide receivers, and they think they can just dice people up. It doesn't work if you can't run the football and you can't protect. So I think our defense just showing what they're able to do. Yeah, Travis Hunter went for a little over 100, but that team they didn't get over 275 yards total offense. I mean, he held that offense to under 300 yards. I mean, that's doing something now, and the D-line's legit. Our secondary can obviously cover good enough. It was kind of a question mark and things that I was slightly concerned of. But it shows you that our defense is a real deal. Now we get some offense to go with it, to have some support. You get the special teams. Obviously, they had a little bit of some issues as well. But I tell you what, this defense is going to be tough to deal with. They were tough to deal with last year. Just offense couldn't score any points. Now you get some help. I think people's eyes are open up to, what Nebraska can do, and kind of obviously a lot of winnable football games over the next month. They still got to take care of business. Trust me, Nebraska has not arrived yet whatsoever. But that win on Saturday, I think, just shows people like, hey, they're gonna be tough to deal with all 3 phases.
Jay Moore's with us, Hail Varsity Radio, the Blackshirt Hour. Jay's getting his voice back from a revival type weekend for Nebraska. And Jay, you're right, there's still plenty to work on, and you presume Nebraska can get better offense, defense, special teams. The pub that comes along with Prime and that offense, that point you just made, is real. And to shut that down like Nebraska did is going to get Nebraska some notice. It got them notice in the top 25. I want to get your take on this team and Coach Rhule being able to handle some pats on the back for this week and beyond, because there's a good chance that Illinois is going to be with a number next to their name a week from Friday. I mean, there's other hurdles ahead. This was a big one, but you've got more to play for, and that's kind of been Rhule's tone. That was today anyway. Yeah,
you definitely. He saw it in his presser, right? He said, "You got first time being in the top 25 since 2019." He goes, "That's great, but that wasn't our goal this year. Was to be ranked in the top 25." I think they have obviously loftier goals and expectations. But in a way, I know the second half, not scoring any points. And obviously there was some more. They were being rather conservative, and the penalties are an issue. And but I think you can use that, right, as a motivating factor. Like, we haven't played a complete game yet, and that wasn't a complete game. I mean, yeah, you earn the right to have a sloppy second half because you dominated the first half, but you get later in the season, you can't do that. You got to play 4 complete quarters from on all 3 phases. And I think you can use that as motivation, use that to your advantage to get these guys, to not, like you said, pat themselves on the back or, get complacency at all. And I don't think they're going to. This is a very, older football team that hasn't won football games, but you still got to learn how to, when you start winning games, there's an ability to learn how to win and not let it, not get too far out ahead of yourself and thinking in the future. But I don't think Coach Rhule is going to let them enjoy this one too much. You could potentially have a hangover factor against Northern Iowa this week. So there's that. Obviously, Illinois and Rutgers, and you got to go Purdue. Like, there's a lot of we're getting way ahead of the down the road, but Coach Rhule's not going to let them. He's going to find plenty to harp on, make sure that hey, we can still be better, and they can be better. I mean, they left a lot of points out there offensively, defensively. Wasn't the cleanest game. I mean, there were some good things that they did in the special teams, but there's also some sloppiness. The kicking game is a bit of an issue. Getting a punt block, missed field goal. They did get a decent return there early in the first half. So, listen, the results are what we wanted. As long as they're 1 by 1, I think everyone's going to be happy. It was a dominating victory, but there's still plenty to work on and to fix, which I think you kind of want, honestly, heading into a game against Northern Iowa where the hangover factor could easily be at play.
It's Jay Moore with us. And, Jay, you kind of nailed it. Matt Rhule said after the game on Saturday, like, hey, by the time we get in here Monday, these guys are probably going to think it's going to be the worst game they ever played. And I'm not sure if that's the direct quote. I'm paraphrasing for him. You hear the press conference on Monday, not an angry Matt Rhule, but you do hear that tone of disappointment in his voice after watching the film. Yeah, it's the special teams played poorly. He called upon the offense to match both the intensity and the preparation levels of the freshman quarterback, which I think tells you a lot about the freshman quarterback, but also just Matt Rhule's expectation level for this team. And I want to get your thoughts on that comment in particular. What do you make of Matt Rhule calling out the offense, saying, hey, you got to catch up to the freshman quarterback, both what that means for the offense and how you read into Dylan Raiola's day-to-day work?
Yeah, I think you've seen it already through 2 games that he's not a normal 18, 19-year-old freshman, right? He prepares the right way. He goes about things the right way. You've seen it just through 2 games and his ability to take care of the football. The scene's not too big for him. Does the right things. Looks very poised back there, and that leads. And no surprise. I mean, if he's preparing the right way, that shows it. That shows it to you right there on how he performs on Saturday through two games so far. Now, I mean, he did call it the wide receivers. So they blocked very poorly on the edge. You got to pick that up. So there's going to be enough there that, listen, I mean, this game easily could have been 42-10. Easily. It wasn't. And there's going to be enough to pick apart there that they're going to keep these guys. He's going to knock them down a peg or two, right? He's going to knock them down a level. And that's what good coaches, do. You congratulate them, but you also got to find this team's a long ways from where it needs to go. And yes, beating a rival like Colorado in prime and all the pageantry that comes with it is awesome. Love it. But he said you can hear him in his voice that being in the top 25 is not the end goal. They have loftier goals. They have loftier expectations. And that's what you want to hear from a coach after a big win. I'm sure, there was good things done, but there's plenty of room to improve on this football team, and he's not going to let his team forget that for sure.
Jay, after 2 weeks, a lot of Husker fans out there, I don't want to say anointing Dylan Raiola, but that's kind of where we're at. Like, a lot of Husker fans out there think, you know what, this is the guy that can bring Nebraska back. This is the guy that is awakening the sleeping giant. I want to get your thoughts on that. Are you anointing Dylan Raiola as the guy to bring Nebraska football back?
I wouldn't necessarily say that. I'm having a hard time anointing. Like I said, I don't know if he's 18 or 19, but I know he's young, right? He's a lot younger than me. and there's a lot of football yet to be played. I think obviously the right things are being done. How he's operating, how he's preparing, how he's taking care of his business on and off the field, or he's going about it the right way. I think he has the right people, surrounding him. That's family based, and the coaching staff. But we haven't had a quarterback. I mean, again, I hate putting the cart before the horse, but I mean, no turnovers through 2 games. I mean, he got lucky obviously on that Ramir throw. So I'm sure he, they're coaching him up on that. But his ability, I think one of the plays that just shows you his maturity is there was a mistimed handoff on a little you had a motion and the running back went the wrong way and he just slid on it. He just went down. Maybe last year Jeff Sims tries to do some of that and fumbles. Maybe Harburg tried to do some of that last year and they fumble, right? They make a mistake. He didn't. He's just like, you know what? I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna take it. This play's going nowhere. Let's not try to force the action. So that just kind of speaks to the maturity that he has, and he's only going to get better. He says that he's probably his toughest critic. He's probably super hard on himself. He's so many throws. I mean, missing I think it was a Lloyd on the wheel route. That was close to being another touchdown on a big play. I'm sure that one's haunting him in his sleep. He's got to be able to make that throw. So listen, this team he's going to help us win a lot of football games this year. And there's something to that, but I'm not ready to anoint him by any means necessary, because it's just not him, right? It's the O-line's got to be there. They got to have the consistent run game. You still got to get help from the special teams, and the defense has got to play well as well, just as well. So Happy's on our side right now, and like I say, he's going to get better, but a lot of football yet to be played, and I'm sure there's going to be some freshman mistakes that pop up yet this year.
Few more minutes. Jay Moore with us, Blackshirt Husker NFLer, Blackshirt Hour. It's Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Cornhead Lager at Jay Moore 44. Catch him and his recap. Big Red wrap-up Tuesday night. Jay, a thought, man, 6 sacks, 10 TFLs by Death Row as the defensive line setting the tone early in that first quarter. A guy that maybe had his coming out party and he'll start stacking, but what a journey it's been for Ty Robinson, back for a 6th season. His mates jumped in to shout out Jamari and Princewell and Lenhart. I mean, the entire hockey line known as Death Row got in, got hurries. I mean, there was so many hurries, let alone hits. And then, yes, you've got the sacks. But just your position group, the defensive line, speak a moment to what they did, and that's what it looked like. A game dominated that you thought could be done by Nebraska's D-line.
Yeah, and that's where it came down to it. And Nebraska was able to get home with 4 guys all game, rarely blitzed. You leave 6-7 guys in the back end there to go to work against obviously a really good wide receiver core that Colorado has. But just started off. Ty Robinson, first year he sacked, right? And it wasn't just him. It was everybody. Nash got in there, Jamari, Princewell, Cam Lenhart, James Williams. Everybody, right? It was just kind of a rotating. Everybody was doing their thing, and that's just speaks credit to the defense and Tony White and his staff, and the depth that they've developed, and just the preparation for these guys, because just because you're not starting doesn't mean you're not going to play. So I think a lot of these guys are preparing the right way and have the right attitude, and they're doing things off the field and in practice that are getting themselves prepared to do it when it matters. But you just see it. I mean, it's fun to watch them play, man. It is so much fun to see Ty do his thing, and Nash and Jamari and Cam and Princewell and like I said, James Williams, and even Shavers got in there at the end for a little strip sack. The linebacker group, Bear and Bullock, were lights out. They were so good. This was just a fantastic display of defense by this squad, and I'm not surprised. I think more people were a little more surprised nationally, but I don't think we were. People around here, I don't think we're that surprised. I know how good these guys can be. I knew how good. if this D-line got after it, they were going to struggle, and they did. And I expect them to continue this and get better and create havoc for the 9 other games, or excuse me, the 10 other games that they have the rest of this year. Hopefully 11 and 12, depending on how the season goes. So hats off to them, man. They played their tails off. But like I said, it's on to Northern Iowa now. Get over it, get better, and keep on working the things and focus on what's important. And let's go get this third game.
Jay Moore's with us, and Jay, we've spent a segment and change now discussing the mostly good from Nebraska for this game. That's what we're supposed to do on a Monday. That's what happens after a win. What still concerns you with this football team? What needs to get cleaned up? You have another great tune-up opportunity against Northern Iowa, and then you're straight into the Big Ten slate. What do you need to see cleaned up over the next 10 days or so?
Yeah, I mean, I think immediately my mind goes special teams. The kicking game is inconsistent. Alvano missed that one. I know they're dealing with 2 kickers, and I'm sure they're having competitive things in practice to figure out who's going to handle it throughout the week. Got to get that handled. Getting a punt blocked, they're lucky. Those are big momentum changers. They're lucky that it wasn't that big of a momentum changer, and they kind of had their momentum heavily already established in this game. They got that kickoff return, so I think they'll get that figured out. But that's definitely an issue, because when you get into Big Ten play and these better teams, points are a premium, and holding teams to field goals and flipping the field and just those hidden yardages that happen, that's going to be important when you play Illinois. It's going to be really, really important. So they got to get that figured out. And then I think penalty-wise, and again, I don't know if all of them were warranted. I know there was just a sloppy game in the second half with 21 penalties total, 12 by Nebraska, 9 by Colorado, and a lot of them coming in the second half. That sloppiness there has got to get cleaned up. But overall, I think mainly it's just the special teams is got to get it figured out. But offensively, I thought they're protecting the pass protection is good enough. The run game is working well. Defensively, there'll be some things to clean up as well, but you got to get those special teams figured out, because it's going to matter a lot. People are going to think I'm crazy, but Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, it's going to matter. Trust me, it's going to matter in those games. In Indiana, obviously you need to carry into those 5 games later in the season against that tough competition, but they got to get that corrected, and I feel confident that they will.
Jay, what was your pregame and the Jay Moore experience before you made your way into the stadium and made your way onto the field? We got down there rather early. Started off. 10 a.m.
What's that? No,
10 a.m.
12:30. About 12:30.
Okay, all right.
12. I think we parked around 12:30. So, started at the rail yard and hung out there for a good hour or two, and then made our way over to our tailgate and hung out there for obviously through the first half, and had a ton of people come to the tailgate. I mean, everywhere was crazy. It was just perfect weather, and obviously that people had this game circled for so long that everybody was out and about. And then went into for the second half and got to see the cool, obviously the light show that headed into the fourth quarter, and then stumbled my way onto the field after the game. And trust me, there was no storming. It was just like kind of walking out of the stadium, and then that the gate was open. A buddy of mine, he's kind of walked out there and stood in the silence for a bit, looked around, enjoyed the scenes, enjoyed the game, and then made our way to stopped at one more tailgate for a pit stop, and then walked home. Got myself home that night. So it was a great Saturday, man. It was tough. That won't be tough to top. Just with weather and just the amount of people I got to see and hang out with and talk to, and obviously beating Colorado. Ain't nothing better than beating Colorado.
It's Jay Moore. Jay, will check in next week. Thanks again.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks, boys.
Good to hear from Jay Moore. And Jay Moore is good for a burrito after midnight. Death, taxes, Jay Moore, post tailgate, post big game. Jay Moore's good for a burrito.
I think he did that back in his playing days.
He did. And I think he carried it forward to big game Colorado week.
That is a good topic. What is the ideal meal after a late-night Husker game that has maybe been fueled by some liquid encouragement?
We will dive into that tomorrow. Back pocket.
Okay.
All right, too little time left today. Trent got in, says, don't worry, fellas, made it. Trent, I meant to get to you earlier. We are loaded on the stream. Doug is here. Stairway to Heaven's my age group. Zeppelin 4, early 70s, Black Dog. Doug, coming to my rescue. You're beating me over the head with my lack of rap music feels.
You mentioned Trent. Last year, Trent was playing post-Michigan game at the bar, and I wonder if you'd take Zeppelin as a song request. Trent, let us know.
Good call. It's a good call. Dion is in. Good to have you. We'll wind down a Monday next.
And now, back to Hail Varsity Radio.
Big thanks and shout-outs. Great Red Shark in Eat Beef. Billy checking in. 6.3 million folks saw Nebraska football, VCU. Matt Rhule was asked about Dylan Raiola and what he thinks so far through 2 weeks.
I told the offense a lot of them have to pick their intensity up to his level, not the other way around. He's trying to throw the ball to guys that are supposed to be in certain places and they're not there. He's at a whole other level, and those other guys better pick it up. That's said respectfully and with love. But and I only say that because you guys sometimes ask me, like, hey, did you not throw it as much in the second half because of him? No, because of everyone else. Because other guys weren't playing at the level I wanted, and so we're having free runners. Like, they blitz us and the back misses it or the tackle misses it, and he's having to run around and make plays. But we had guys running wide open. We could have scored a lot more points. We threw a lot of shots in that game. A lot of them just didn't get thrown because he had to run. So we had no sacks because he avoided guys. But Dylan, through 2 games, Dylan's done everything you could want, except he didn't milk the clock enough going into the 2-minute last game. And that's the main thing I had for him. He can be sometimes too aggressive at times, and so me and him that's not Glenn, that's me and him just situationally communicating. But Dylan's doing a great job. I need everyone else to understand that, like, if a freshman knows all 120 plays in the game plan, then as a junior, I better know all 120 plays or 80 plays, whatever's in the game plan, I better know them and be able to operate them. Because, you get into 2-minute, Sam, especially early in the year, we didn't know what they were going to do in 2 minutes. A new coordinator from Cincinnati. I mean, we might watch so much Cincinnati Bengals film. We didn't know what it was going to be. All of a sudden, it's cover 2. We're calling cover 2 beaters. When we practice for man all week, right? We go right to cover 2 beaters. He's over there like, hey, let's go to this play, and he hits it. If he knows that, like from camp, everyone else better know that. And that's what we have on defense. We have a level of accountability that's unmatched, and that's what we're getting on offense right now. So that's why I'm saying it out loud. Because we should have scored 42 or 50 points. We had some really selfish penalties. Not selfish in a bad way. Selfish in a, oh man, I don't want to get beat, so I'm going to tackle this guy here, as opposed to just do your job, man. Trust yourself. So we still have some evolution on offense to do.
Can we squeeze in cut 3?
Let me check here. I do want to quickly ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
Cut 3, we do not have time for.
Well,
that's okay, because I do have a question to ask here. Is it time to start asking ourselves if Dylan Raiola is already the best player on the Husker offense? Am I too far ahead of myself? Am I too over my skis based on that comment we just heard from Rhule about his level of preparation, his level of effort?
I think from a prep, I mean, he's in his own sandbox in a good way. He's just that different.
I mean, Nebraska hasn't asked Dylan Raiola to be the best player on the offense, so it might not be it might be Ohio State, USC, where we start getting an answer to that question.
He needs to ramp up to November.
There are going to be games this year, at least moments this year, where Nebraska needs Dylan Raiola to play like a superstar. You circle USC, you circle Ohio State, where you need Dylan Raiola to be the best player on that offense. I don't think you need that right now. We haven't gotten a chance to quite see him in that moment, but I think based on what we've seen already and what you hear from Rhule, I think you could make the argument that he might be the best player on that offense.
The 2 guys in front of him, specifically Mazuka, the way he's playing in Poland, they can ride him, run behind him, run right, or counter left with him pulling, and make money running the football with Dowdell if he holds on to the football. All right, but Dylan, from an understanding, and the game isn't too fast right now, through 2 games, has been good.
Through 2 games, comparatively to the rest of the Big Ten, he's already a top quarterback in the Big Ten. I understand I mean, most of the Big Ten teams haven't been tested. Nebraska, I would say, probably hasn't either. But based on the performance of the first 2 games,
they were supposed to be tested. Reminder to get buckled up. Use your seatbelt. It saves lives. Make it click. A message from the NDOT Highway Safety Office. Back tomorrow at 4 with Hail Varsity, powered by Cornhead Lager.